I think we all work too hard and too much. So, what do we do when the work needs to be done, but we need a break? That's the thought behind this week's Sunday question. Hey everyone, I'm Denise Brown and I write what I call Sunday questions. I like to think of a good question in my head so my mind works to find a good answer. So rather than fretting, I question. It's been a really effective strategy that I've used for years. If I'm feeling stressed about what to do, I think of a good question to give my mind so that my mind works out an answer to relieve my stress. So every Sunday, I think of a good question we can ask ourselves. So this week's Sunday question is inspired by some work I've been doing, and I've been doing too much of it, but yet it is actually very interesting work. It is work around data I have been collecting around the experience individuals who care for a family member have. And I started because actually someone asked me a question. It was a graduate student who was completing a project for her master's. She asked if she could interview me for her project. I said, of course. And she asked me what I thought about the care economy. And I said, the care economy does not exist. Because if it did, so many of us wouldn't be in a situation where we are so stressed out trying to be two places at the same time, at work and helping someone in the family who needs our support and care. So her question started a series, and I wanted to think through how do we show the value of actually supporting those who care. And in that question, I began the quest of really understanding what the work is when a family member starts to help and support someone in the family. And from that, I started collecting data around the scope of work. I've had just over 500 individuals who care for a family member share their insights about their scope of work in order for them to actually get a value, a dollar amount on that work. It actually wasn't what I had intended, but it was actually what came out of thinking through what's the value of a family caregiver's work. So, what's been fun about it is this data has been so interesting to poke around in. And I use Claude, an AI tool, to help me with the analysis. So when I'm stuck in the drudgery of the day and starting to worry a little bit about revenue, because it's a small business I run, I'm responsible for the revenue. And sometimes I think, oh no, where is the revenue? I poke around in the data, and that makes me feel so much better. And what had occurred to me is what I'm doing is exploring. And so exploring is what inspired this week's Sunday question. And here's what I wrote for you. The Sunday question: what can I explore? Our days can feel so full of drudgery. We begin the day with the grind of the to do list and close the day with the thoughts of tomorrow's toil. Let's break up the grind. Let's explore. We can explore right where we are. We can explore ideas with a colleague or friend, places by taking a detour, possibilities by saying yes to ourselves, changes by considering what could be better, opportunities by pursuing what matters to us, hobbies by taking time for what we enjoy. Another way by brainstorming. Exploration is accessible and affordable as it only requires our imagination and our permission to simply try. We can remind ourselves that when we feel stuck in the sameness of our day, we can take time to explore. We can ask ourselves this question to start our day: what can I explore? What will you explore? I'd love to know. Leave a comment. If this was helpful, hit like. And if you'd like to receive all our content, hit subscribe. And if you're in a situation where you're helping, supporting, caring for someone in the family or a friend, I'd love to know about your experiences. I've included a link in our show notes to our calculator where you tell me about your work, and then the calculator tells you what your value is. It's fascinating. Thanks so much for all you do. Thanks so much for listening. I really appreciate it. I'm Denise Brown. Take care.